Clear! You'll live, buddy! Now get back to the fight!
Hey guys, how you all doing? Medic on Duty is my name. I'm back to you with some World of Tanks gameplay. However, I'm not really going to be talking about the gameplay too much. If you're curious about the gameplay, this is just a quick little IS-3 game from Fisherman's Bay. It's a pretty good game. I'll do say so if I do say so myself without giving too much away about the end result. But for this video, even though it's a little bit out of the news, I think it's been out of the news, the YouTube news cycle at least for like about a week or so. I still want to give my own thoughts about the CSGOLotto scandal, the one that has implicated T Martin and Pro Syndicate, and just to give my own thoughts about a scandal, at least from one specific area of it. With this, there's definitely a lot of ways you can address this, but to give you some background information for those of you who may not be aware of what's going on, who don't tend to go on the part of YouTube where this comes from. Very recently, a YouTuber by the name of Honor the Call revealed that popular YouTubers Trevor Martin or T Martin and Pro Syndicate had been doing a series of videos where they're using a CSGO skin gambling website called CSGOLotto, where if you're unfamiliar with how Counter-Strike Global Offensive skin gambling sites work, they pretty much all use the same general platform or way of gambling, in that it's a 50-50 shot. You wager your skins against somebody else's skin. It's the same, basically the bets are all the same amount of value, and it's pretty much a 50-50 shot. If you win, you get their stuff. If they win, you get your stuff. It's fairly simplistic as far as gambling goes. It's not terribly complex, but what Honor the Call turned up was that not only were T Martin and Pro Syndicate failing to disclose that these sites were paying them to promote them, but he also found documents that showed that T Martin and Pro Syndicate were in fact the president and vice president of this one particular website that they had been featuring in all of their videos, a website called CSGOLotto.com, and essentially showing that that they had been lying about they had been not disclosing their involvement with the site in any of their videos featuring the site. And then this later got picked up by Ethan Klein of H3H3 Productions, and then it very quickly spread from there. And now there's a lot to talk about, I feel, in this particular issue, which is why, even though it's been out of the YouTube news cycle for a little bit, I still want to give my own 2 cents about the issue. There's a lot of issues that this kind of ties into. You can ask the question about, is this about, the question about whether this is actually, gambling real money or just virtual items in a video game, because Valve has this weird legal thing going on with CSGO that says that CSGO skins aren't technically money. I'm sure there's a legal justification for that. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's an interesting distinction, especially considering that you can then turn around and sell these skins to other Steam users in exchange for Steam wallet funds, which are basically money. And there's also the fact that some of these skins can sell for several, $100. So this is not just, people just, trading simple cosmetics. There's serious money involved here. You can also, but getting back on topic, you can also talk about how the sign-up age for the site was only 13 years old, which, if this is actual gaming, then that means that not only are T Martin and Pro Syndicate technically guilty of not disclosing their involvement in this website, but they're also, isn't just them, but every other CSGO skin gambling website, you're technically allowing minors to gamble on your website, which is definitely against the law. And you can also talk, about what Valve's role in all of this is, because, all these websites were using the Steam, OpenID API, I believe that's what it's called. You have to, and, seeing as, these sites are being allowed to use that API, you have to question how much did Valve know about what was going on, and, even how much money they were making off this, how much of a cut they were taking, because there was a news report, which I will link in the description, that says that the CSGO skin market, weapon skin market, was worth something like $2.3 billion, which, considering that we're talking about weapon skins, cosmetics in a in a fairly popular video game. Don't get me wrong, but in a video game that blows my mind that there can be that much money in cosmetic items for a video game. But those are all very valid issues that I could probably make separate videos about all of them, but for right now I'm going to focus on what's really the big elephant in the room, for me at least, which is T. Martin's and Pro Syndicate's failure to disclose the nature of these videos, that they were paid promotions, and not only that, but their failure to disclose their roles within CSGOLotto, that they were in fact the president and vice president of this company, and not only that, but they were president and vice president from the very incorporation of this company. I think I mentioned the YouTuber Honor the Call, who first exposed this. He turned up documents that showed that they were that T. Martin and Pro Syndicate were president and vice president of CSGOLotto from the very inception, from the day that the company was pretty much incorporated. But before I get into just how T. Martin and Pro Syndicate failed to disclose their information, you have to ask what the guidelines are for disclosure of paid promotions. And thankfully, the FTC, and I will put this link in the description as well, the FTC actually has a link to where they state pretty clearly what they mean by clearly and conspicuously disclosing that something is in fact a paid promotion. This little screenshot is taken directly from the FTC's website, where they disclose this, and this is effectively what they say. To make a disclosure clear and conspicuous, advertisers should use clear and unambiguous language and make the disclosure stand out. Consumers should be able to notice the disclosure easily. They should not have to look for it. In general, disclosures should be 1. Close to the claims to which they relate, 2. In a font that is easy to read, 3. In a shade of a coloring of font that stands out against the background, for video ads, on the screen long enough to be noticed, read, and understood, for audio disclosures read at a cadence that is easy for consumers to follow and in words consumers will understand. And then they also go on to state a disclosure that is made in both audio and video is more likely to be noticed by consumers. Disclosures should not be hidden or buried in footnotes, in blocks of text people are not likely to read, or hyperlinks. And then they've gone to state that that if they do this, they don't meet the clear and conspicuous standards. But let me read that again. Disclosures should not be hidden or buried in footnotes, in blocks of text people are not likely to read, or in hyperlinks. So in a YouTube video, this effectively means that you cannot, bury the fact that your video is a paid promotion in the description of that video. It has to be in the video or prominently displayed in the description, because as you and I both, as I think we all know, people don't read the descriptions. It's just something that happens. People are much less likely, to actually click show more in the description and go and read all that crap. I mean, honestly, who does that? I mean, that's an honest question. I mean, I know I definitely don't do that with every YouTube video I read. Every YouTube video I watched. But as was displayed by Ethan Klein and by H3H3 Productions, that they really don't. They definitely don't disclose that their roles, that the fact that the videos are paid promotions, or their roles within the company in the video, and they don't really do it in the description either. And conveniently, after this whole scandal first started to broke, they then went and edited a lot of the descriptions for their videos to after the fact, which is a pretty pathetic attempt to hide their tracks. But it's pretty clear that they did not disclose their information in a way that meets FTC guidelines, or even arguably, or even at all. And this is a pretty big deal, because the FTC is starting to crack down on this. There was a case a little while ago where they actually they actually implicated a bunch of high-profile gaming YouTubers. I think Boogie2988 was one of the people that that was involved. I think like the company that was providing the paid promotions. I think it was Warner Brothers or something like that. But this is a big deal because technically, according to law, failure to disclose that that somebody is paying you to promote something, it is fraud, which is a pretty big deal. That's actually something criminal. And so, if this is T. Martin's and Pro Syndicate's failure to disclose any of this, forget that there's the whole shady nature of does this actually qualify as legal gambling, which and then combined with the fact that you have underage people gaming on this using this service, because the age cutoff for CSGOLotto.com at least was 13. But this also to go with this further, this also ties into the fact of if Team Martin and Pro Syndicate are president and vice president of this company, and this is all purely speculation, purely speculative, I might add, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if this was in fact the case. If Team Martin and Pro Syndicate are the president and vice president of this website, then that means that they could theoretically have had access to the back end of this, which then means that they can, if they're going to, make a video about this, that they can technically fake the results and then, fake the reactions afterwards, which is why they have so many videos on their website, of them pretty much winning thousands of dollars using this website. So, again, there's no way you can really prove that they were doing this, but given how shady this whole thing feels to me, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was, in fact the case, that these videos, on top of being paid promotions, were faked, for the results to drive traffic to this website. One thing I want to mention is that T. Martin did make a response video to this, and honestly, it wasn't it. I've seen much better response videos to this. It wasn't all that good. He did make the claim that this information about his role within the company, wasn't exactly hidden, that it was always in the public domain, which, is one of the things I hate, because it's technically not a lie, but at the same time, it doesn't follow the rules. The only reason Honor the Call, I think, even was able to get this information about T. Martin's role within the company was that he knew where to look. And for everyone else, the average Joes out there, you think we know where to look? That's a bit of a stretch if you think that everyone just knows how to look for this information, that it's our fault that we didn't take our own initiative and look this up, when it's actually required that you disclose this for us. So that's my general opinion toward this reaction video. That it was a pretty weak ass apology video. I've definitely seen a lot better. But looking forward, now that we've talked about pretty much everything that's happened since then, the question has to be begged, I think. What happens after this? And what I hope happens is that people get held accountable for this. Some steps have already been started to be made. As of this video is being recorded, Valve has already sent cease and desist notices to CSGO skin gambling websites, asking them to essentially to shut down within 30 days. So the CSGO skin gambling market is pretty much dead legally. Whether they then go and switch to other games, because this is one of my big fears, is that they, instead of just going away, they then switch themselves over to Valve's other games that make money off of cosmetic items that you pay for, like Dota 2 and Team Fortress 2. That's a big concern of mine, that instead of just going away, these websites then just switch focus to other games, which is something that I hope definitely is getting addressed. It definitely doesn't happen, and if it does happen, gets addressed quickly, and without, yeah, just that it gets addressed quickly. But for right now, I think the one thing that needs to happen is that people need to be held accountable for their actions. I mean, Team Martin and Pro Syndicate were technically in violation of FTC guidelines, and I hope that there is some kind of punishment, or or something similar, like some kind of punishment, some kind of fine, for violating these guidelines. Because if they aren't punished, then this essentially sets a precedent that you don't have to play by the rules. And even if you do get played by the rules, there's always, if your videos are popular enough, if you have enough subscribers, if you're liked well enough on this website, that the rules don't apply to you. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time this has happened, but I've always been the type of person where, if people, if people do the right thing, I want to see people rewarded for doing the right thing. If they mess up, if they do the wrong thing, I want to see people held accountable for their actions. And this is one area where I think the FTC has a real opportunity to set an example, to really say that this is what happens when you don't follow the rules. And if they can set a precedence here, then hopefully we can see, we will see fewer examples of this happening in the future. I mean, you can't hope to squash out people like these who are just going to go for the quick buck in the short run, by doing something technically that's doing something shady in a technical gray area. But I do hope the FTC makes an example of this so that it's less likely to happen in the future. But the other reason why I hope this happens is because I get the sense that this has damaged reputations. I mean, definitely Team Martin's and Syndicate's reputations have taken a big hit for this over the past, and that's deservedly so. But what I'm worried about, reason why I'm worried about things like this, and why I hope that punishments get handed down so that this doesn't happen again, is that every time this happens, YouTubers suffer. And especially, YouTubers, I mean, I mentioned Boogie2988 earlier, but he's, I think, one of the shining examples, him and Total Biscuit, of how to do paid promotions, just, actually, the right way, and that is by, saying in a video that this is a paid promotion and making that prominent. And I know that Boogie, in particular, has suffered a lot from this by, people calling him a sellout and all this other fun stuff when he's actually following the rules. And it's a shame because you have people like Boogie who follow the rules, but whenever you have guys like Team Martin and Syndicate, guys who just want to go for the quick buck in the short run and just make a short little amount of money, then get out. Everybody suffers from this. Whether you think that's a good thing or not, that's just what happens. Everybody's reputation, who's associated with these kind of people, even if they're not directly associated with them, their reputation still takes a hit. And that's not fair. That's not fair to the people who want to play by the rules, who want to do the right thing. And so long as this keeps happening, people, the people who do things right will continue to suffer with, I think, as much and sometimes even more so than the people who are doing the wrong things. And that's just fucked up. That's not right. And so that's really the other main reason why I hope that this gets resolved quickly, that the right punishments are handed down to the right people, and that we can all move on from this, but speedily and in due time. But anyway, that's it. Those are just my quick thoughts on the video. Let me guys know what you think about it. And before we go, I just wanted to say I have had some ideas about the future, not necessarily relating to YouTube. And one of those ideas is that I think when I get older, I think I'm gonna go plant an orchard. It sounds like a pretty fruitful idea. I'll see you guys later.